just concluded a stream, I feel like if I were driving, I just did a massive U-turn and then I decided to come back to my chair and just sit here and start talking about what I actually meant to talk about originally. So, today, what I intended to talk about was the reason I don't participate in this thing called, and they sent you some kind of a kit for you to like um, you spit onto a tube or something, and then sorry, I missed your name. I'll catch up with you in the comments. But hi, you pretty much spit into a tube and then you mail it off to somewhere, and apparently they have the technology to, hello, Chad, to be able to trace back who your ancestors are, where you come from, what your genetic makeup is like. And all I have to say is the reason I don't do that is because I don't find the idea of mailing my genetic information to some strangers, to some company, as appealing. Like, what are you going to do with my DNA? What are you going to do with my sample? Are you going to throw it away? Are you going to keep it? If you're going to keep it, what are you going to do with my information? How do you intend to keep it safe from like it being misused? Are you going to run tests with it? I don't know, you guys. It doesn't sound appealing to me. I am already like kind of defensive about the hospital, like inserting a freaking needle into my arm and, drawing blood from me, and God knows what happens to my blood after that. So I think it's weird. You know how Google has a lot of information about you and they have like this database with just all kinds of details about you, and Facebook knows everything about you. Like my Facebook, I try to keep it as vague as possible. I do not fill out the information of where I live or where I went to school and stuff like that. Some people really have their profiles loaded. I used to do that back in my MySpace days, but then I said, man, I just feel weird about that. Um, but yeah, you guys, that's really it. I don't want to send off my DNA to somewhere I don't know, but also I don't need to know that information badly or at all. It doesn't benefit my life. It doesn't enhance anything about my life. And besides, my mom, at least, is pretty well informed on what her ancestry is. So for now, if I want to be responsible for my kids when they come, if they come, is I just need to ask questions about the family and see where they came from. And as far as I know, mom has that pretty clear, and she has shared that with me already. So so what I would do is just write that mess down. I don't know if I have gotten around to that or if I've made a video about that. I know I've mentioned that somewhere. But I just don't need that information. I'm not obsessed with it. If I were obsessed with it and wanted to just know badly, I would pretty much go back to my hometown and assault my family with questions. But then again, I'm pretty estranged with them, so it would be kind of odd to just introduce myself as, hey, I want to know more about us. Where do we come from? Are there pictures? Are there stories? This and that. That stuff is just not my cup of tea. Like, it's not intriguing for me. And I guess I have a responsibility to know so that I can share stories, I guess, and keep some traditions going. But I'm just not a traditionalist like that, Politically, you guys know when it comes to politics, I'm kind of brain dead when it comes to that matter. um, I just don't give that stuff a lot of value. Am I curious about some things? Yes. Like I was telling, yeah, it was definitely you, Ollie. I remember we were messaging about this back and forth. I became obsessed with a particular aunt of mine that she is only a half sibling to my father, but she has some traits that I display like very strongly. And I'm like, wow, definitely that comes from our grandma because that's the way I'm related to her through her mom. And for some reason, just looking at her from a certain angle, I could see my traits reflected on her. And then she had this specific look to her that I'm like, you definitely got some native in you. where does that come from? And then I became a little curious. And really, when it comes to understanding my genetic makeup, what I want to know is my blood type, because by knowing my blood type, I can tell a lot of things about me. Especially when it comes to dieting and disease and protecting myself against something. You guys know that I am a girl of science, and that I used to want to be a doctor, so that thing just fascinates me. And I have been a very sickly person lately. Like, anything gets me. I have been very prone to infections and diseases, and my asthma is slowly but surely creeping back into my life. And sometimes it knocks me out to where I'm physically in pain. It doesn't really affect me in work, because I think the power of my mind and me being determined to finish my shift and whatnot just helps me push through. And the same thing at the gym. I do not skip it unless my legs just don't work, which is what happened on Monday. Like, if I'm skipping the gym, that means something major is happening to me. So I want to know why I am having that happen to me more often. Am I prone to a certain condition? Is it my environment? It is very possible that my environment is toxic for me. Like a year ago, I was hanging out with someone who had a bag, and she was asking me to dig through it for some reason. I think it was snacks or something. And there happened to be a little oak leaf. And she grabbed the oak leaf and sort of brushed my skin with it. And then the very spot where she brushed the leaf against, it was turning red and itchy. So I'm like, am I allergic to this leaf? Am I allergic to oak? And I have not exposed myself to it as much since, but I thought it was weird that a little leaf was doing that to me. Was the leaf contaminated with something else that I'm allergic to? But then when I think about it, every single spring and summer, as of lately, my skin has been acting up. There's also rashes that keep coming out of the blue on me. And I used to not have any rash problems ever since I was a kid. Like, between ages 6 and 8, I had this horrible rash in the back of my knees, like in the back of my legs, and I had to go to the doctor for that. And then after that round, I went years, like decades, without it. And now it's coming back, but it's showing up in places that I never had issues with. Do you guys remember months ago how I kept whining and crying and complaining about the stuff on my neck, the stuff in my arms? Well, the stuff in my arm is coming back. And then recently, once again, in my neck, something showed up, but it went away quickly. So, what is happening to me? Does this have anything to do with my genetics, or is there something toxic in the environment? Because everyone around me seems to be pretty sick, but some people are more sick than me, some people are not as sick as me. So I just want to know about me. And a good way to go about that is you look at your family history and you can figure out um, what you may be prone to. So, I mean, for me, the only part that's not very clear for me is the non European side. Like, I was asking mom, okay, so what part of our family is black? What part of our family is native? And on some of those things, she is not entirely sure, because the folks who would have been good sources to ask, like her grandparents, they were either dying or dead before she could get around to that topic. So I keep asking around. I'm like, okay, if you don't know, then ask your brothers. If your brothers don't know, since they're older than you, they may have spent time with their grandparents. Ask them. And if they don't know, ask older aunts of yours, the siblings of your parents who are still alive. Ask them. Let's create this chain of communication. What did they hear? What stories were they told? Basically, by word of mouth, you can find out about your ancestry. It may not be as accurate, and especially depending on what your family history is, your information may be lost forever. But like I said, it's just something that I don't care about, and people want me to care about it more than I feel comfortable with. And I'm like, how about if you worry about whatever floats your boat and let me handle my life how I want to? If in the future you turn out to be right and I regret not being well informed on my ancestry, then okay, I'll give you the credit. I was wrong, I fucked up, I missed out on keeping my family lineage and the information rolling. But I mean, I just don't care. I'm just busy with other things. I have other stuff going on in my life. So if you want to name me something for your pleasure, just do it. If you want to say that I am, like, what was the most recent thing that I heard, Israeli, you go for it. If you want to call me a mulatto, you go for it. If you want to call me British, you go for it. If you want to call me Hispanic, go for it. If you want to call me anything but American, which is what I am, you go for it. But I am not going to sit here and explain myself because I don't care. Do I ask you where you're from? No. So why should I be answering that question? See what I mean? And except for the most recent history, like what my mother has shared with me, I don't have much to tell you anyway. So, yeah, you guys, that's really it. I guess I'm one of those people who just doesn't trust very easily. So, the idea of me sending my composition to somewhere whom I don't know is just really not that appealing to me. So, for anyone else who has done it and you believe in it, good for you. If you want to pay $100 for that, do it. I do not have money to just be throwing away like that. So if you have $100 that you just want to give to some company, you go for it. Keep increasing their database. It may help someone out there find their family, but do not expect for me to value that if that's genuinely not something I find valuable. Some people do care, and I'm just not like that. Like someone said that the place where they were born at is just incidental. It does not really influence them. I'm the same way. Like, the culture that surrounds me does influence me in a sense because, I'm not from a developing country. There's stuff that I just do not struggle with. And, there's people who say, I remember that people in other countries have it worse than you. Well, how about this? How about if within my society, the society that I was born into and that I correspond to, there are challenges within it? And that is what I am expressing myself on. How about if you don't focus on invalidating my feelings when clearly this society is not perfect? The challenges of other places are challenges that they need to deal with and progress from. We have progressed from that. And from that progress, new challenges emerge. And those are the ones that people like me, suffer from. How about if we don't try to invalidate feelings? See what I mean? And that is why I cannot just be like glorifying, how can I say this? Being patriotic. I'm not disrespectful of the country. I think that I behave well to where I'm not getting in trouble, I'm not being arrested, I'm not getting fired from my jobs and everything. I think having me as a neighbor is great because it almost seems like there's no life in this house except for when I play my music. But I believe that I don't bother anybody. So um why can you not focus on that? I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point, but I'm just saying why you will probably never see a video of me saying that I finally sent my DNA to Ancestry and that I'm going to share the results. No. All I have to do is ask some questions in my family or to my mom because fortunately she got to meet a lot of people when she was growing up and she knows a lot of our history. Of course, some stuff has gotten lost, but I mean, whatever she knows, she has shared with me already. And I guess when my kids come, if they come, I can share it with them. Or if not, I can just vlog my life away or write my life away so that if someone wants to know the story of me, my lineage, then okay, you can find that out through my writing. But I'm just saying, that is not urgent in my agenda. All right, let me see what you guys are saying because I'm pretty sure that I'm starting to repeat myself like a broken record. I hate when the very first comment is like grayed out. I think that says she knows it's true. You're the one who I meant. Garuda says, "Will you marry me?" And I'll have to decline. I've always been skeptical about that. I heard that ancestry tests are accurate and ac- inaccurate. See, now that you mentioned the note of inaccuracy, I saw the results of three people in YouTube, and it sounded to me awfully generic. Like they happened to be white people, and then it mostly said something like Scandinavian and British. And I'm like, of course, the British stuff is expected because, as far as I know, those are our ancestors. But of course, there's people who have the French and then the Spanish stuff going on, etc., etc. But I guess I need to find out exactly how they went about gathering the information and the data that they say, okay, if your DNA looks like this, then you are linked to that. Wow, I expressed that very poorly. But basically, what I'm saying is, how did you come up with the scientific method that led you to the results that you claim that you possess for us to find out about us? See what I mean? But of course, there are companies out there who have money. They can put information together. God knows for how long they have been gathering information about us that we're not even aware of. And I guess that, DNA is just that. It's your signature. It's your blueprint, pretty much. So you can know stuff about you based on your DNA, but before I involve myself that, I want to know the detail. What did you go through to gather this information? So, anyways, that's why I'm skeptical about it. It sounded awfully generic. Like, yeah, it sounded generic. So, anyways, let's see. You mentioned not liking needles. I can't stand them. The last time I had a blood test, I freaked out at the sight of a needle, and the nurses and my mom to hold me still. This scar right here, it never healed. It was, although I was 5 years old and there was a 100 and something pound man on with two nurses and my mom down, along with the four-armed doctor, I had strength. And maybe my menstrual cycle was just developing at that early age, because let me tell you, I had some rage within me. I was able to push all them mugs away and not allow for them to stitch this thing up to where it would have healed. So the doctor said to my mom, well, we tried, but unfortunately, she's going to have this ugly, nasty scar on her face because I wasn't able to stitch it up so that the skin can regrow, and whatever medical terms he uses that are way too advanced for my current mental capacity. But basically, I was pushing everyone away because I was just so scared of needles. And you are right. I do not like needles because honestly, who likes to be stabbed by anything, period? The whole reason I treat Dusty like he is a crocodile is because he loves to bite. And although he's warm, fuzzy, and cuddly, and just soft and all that, he has tiny blades attached to him. So it's like my skin is suffering as a result of that. So for me to be not enthusiastic about needles, can you blame me? I mean, if there's anyone out there who likes to be stabbed, please make yourself known so that I can have a conversation with you and I get to know about you, because I cannot say that I will be a stab enthusiast. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, pain is awful. It's your body's mechanism of telling you that something is wrong. So why would I be enthusiastic about such a feeling? So, anyways, I believe if Facebook major credit agencies can be hacked, then sending your DNA is certainly not safe, if not hacked already. Exactly. It's more of a security concern. Um, we hear all the time about people suffering, being victims of identity theft. This era of digital storage is just terrifying. Since it's in its mostly beginning stages, it's like a young technology, we need to figure out how to keep information safe in the same manner that we haven't figured out how to get rid of nuclear waste. Is the same manner that we haven't figured out information safe. You can encrypt it all that you want, but someone out there will always have the capacity to just with that. And that's what I'm afraid of. So I don't think it's radical for me to be like, I'll pass. Let's see. So, what are you? I like to classify heavily mixed. There is European, there is black, and there's certainly native going on in the family. Um, and if you're wondering exactly from which countries, I know that there is some French, the Italian side, and from my father's side, from my mom's side, there's French and Italian, and from my dad's side, there is uh, Spaniard, and that is where stuff gets a little nebulous. We're not sure what the rest is when it comes to and black. Like, I would love to say a specific African country, for instance, if that's the place where the black comes from. I don't like to just assume because it could be black that comes from another island, like there's island nations out there that have people look a certain type of way. I cannot just assume that everyone during those years of, the historical aspect of it, I don't want to just assume that, so that's why I don't sit here and I say, oh yeah, so and so. So us, I don't care information up. If I'm doing a wrongdoing, if I may have to say so again, by being that way, then in the future it'll come back to bite me. But for right now, until I see a reason why I have and need to know that, I'm going to go by the little bit. So, um, why are you not showing me comments? Yeah, I think my screen may be like contaminated or something, or maybe my hands are like. It is basically an easy way to find the people and the blood type for organ transplants. I don't trust it. I have a rare blood type. I won't submit my blood to these people. Yeah, I heard something about how if in your ID you say that you're an organ donor, that for some things. That's terrifying. What I'm saying is, I totally get being mistrusting of hospitals. I got much better with needles thanks to needing to go to the dentist a lot, but I wouldn't donate DNA either. When it comes to blood, the only reason went back when I 18 in school. Well, first of all, when I was in school, I didn't get to be 18 when I was in school. But anyways, those blood drives that people would have is because I have a history of being anemic and there is a family history of anemia. So if I if I'm running out of blood myself, why would I be giving my blood away? See what I'm saying? It just sounded like a terrible idea that I should just steer away from. Basically, no one can use my blood, but I can use any blood. My blood type is like a vampire's. Vampire blood. Yeah, I guess so. Sucks because my bloodline is, yeah, I can take all blood types, but no other blood types can take my own blood type. You look Brazilian, which is awesome. I love Brazilian women. It's not that people will die if they take my blood. I'll just be sure not to call you late for dinner because that's just mean and cruel. You are mixed, half angel and half human. I figured it out. That is so sweet of you. I was born in America with a Filipino and American father, proud to be born here in the U.S. Hi everybody, God bless. What's up, Zamri? Hey, we meet again. Rambo hates neither of your videos. Thank you so much. And I hate needles and pills. But don't even get me started on pills because I have heard some terrible stories. Like these pills may just be filled with sugar and as a result just be placebos. So I don't know, you guys. Do you guys ever just sit back and read all these theories. And if you want to go a little crazier, you can wait until nighttime, turn on a lamp, and just lay down and just look up freaky stuff in the internet, especially YouTube videos that talk about the most terrible experiments that have been done by humans. And then you find out a lot of messed up things that you just wish wasn't real, but so much has happened in history that to me anything can be real. And it's cool because you're not so ignorant and innocent about it, but at the same time it terrifies you that some people have this sick thoughts going on in their mind. But at the same time, because of sick people, we have been able to advance and discover things that make our lives much better and comfortable. So I guess sacrifices do need to happen, but I cannot say that in the name of science I would do something that crazy. I mean, I just can I call myself a conformist? I mean, I just know how to make wonders with whatever little bit that I have. Technology wasn't so advanced nowadays. I feel like I would have adapted just fine. And I have been in very tight situations before, and I don't get like frustrated. I don't get frustrated about not having my phone for hours. I don't get desperate about not having electricity for a week. Um, so I don't know. I guess I should be thrown into an island or something, experience that challenge. But I'll probably die. But I'm just saying that I'm not afraid to like go back to basics and lose the stuff that we have now. Um, I don't know. I guess I just take challenges while they happen. I try to anticipate stuff so I can have an emergency plan, but I'm not intimidated by things changing and me losing the stuff in my life as I know it. So yeah. Doctors make up all